Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Marketing Corner.
Whoop, whoop.
Oh, God, we need to cut that.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, not that. No, okay. It's episode 69, and we're going to talk about something pretty interesting. We're going to talk about role models.
Yes.
And I think maybe I can start by saying the reason we're talking about this today is that because Jen and I was having a conversation about how we've started, we get imposter syndrome slightly or something slightly quite a lot that the people look up to us as role models sometimes. So this episode is going to be a little bit of that conversation about how that feels and what that means to us, and then we're going to transition into what are some of the people we look up to, where do we get some inspiration from.
Yeah.
So do you want to kick it off a little bit? You also recently won an award. Maybe we should start there.
Well, yeah, I think that's where it kind of came from. As I recently won Digital Leader of the Year for Nordic Women.
Yay! Congratulations!
Yeah, thank you so much. And I was very surprised and very flattered. And
you were so surprised you didn't prepare a speech.
I didn't even prepare a speech.
Which is, you guys might not know Jen that well, but that's very unlike Jen. I just want to point it out.
I would have had a PowerPoint.
Yes, you would.
Color-coded.
Yeah, color-coded, everything. And it would be like, you would have written on all your arms.
Yeah, I genuinely didn't think I was going to win. I know that sounds like what everyone says that. And then my friend who was with me, Nicola, was like, you should be ready just in case. And I was like, oh, fine. And I wrote one sentence. And then when they said my name, they said my name wrong. And so they took a second of like, did they mean me? But then I saw my face on the screen. I'm like, oh, no.
That's me. That's
me. And it was wonderful. And I'm super honored. And I don't really know what to do with this now. It's a very strange feeling because I see the past winners are all over the place. They're everywhere. And I'm like, I'm here in my podcast, hanging out in my tiny little town outside Copenhagen. But yeah, so one of the conversations of the night, because it was women in tech, there's not a ton of us ladies in tech. And so it talked a lot about like role models and who do you look up to. And it kind of was shared. And I agree with this, is that we don't have a lot of role models. So we are the role models. Yeah. And then that started this kind of rabbit hole of holy shit. Yeah. People are actually looking at me going, what she's doing is cool. Or I want to do like she has done or something like that. Not everyone, of course, but there are some people out there. And you definitely have that as well. And I just thought it would be an interesting detour of marketing, but actually talking about, how that feels and when you noticed it and how does it manifest and then what do we do with it? Yeah,
I think I've had like, for me it's been like the split. I think I've had a recent experience and then some in the past. So when I first started to get traction on LinkedIn, like on this, because I post a lot, and you've probably noticed, that's why you're listening maybe. But on LinkedIn, I would sometimes meet people who would say like, hey, I'm seeing you on LinkedIn all the time. How's it going? Keep rocking. You are awesome, right? Yeah. And that's when I think I started to realize that, okay, some people really look up to what I do now. And that happened a few years ago. And then it's only been more and more. Like sometimes we do these Marketing Connect things with the mentorship programs. When we get the applicants, like there's people I've never heard before and they're like praising me. Like there was no tomorrow. And you always get like, okay, what did I do to deserve this?
What did I do? This? Yeah, like what did you see? Or
So for me, that's always very humbling.
Yeah,
I appreciate it so much, and I'm very humbled by it. But it's always this feeling of like, why fucking me, man? Like if you look at me, like. I'm this fat dude who doesn't know how to.
Don't you be mean to my friend Casper like that. Don't say those things about my pal.
I'm this like chubby dude who's used to be good at World of Warcraft and chess. You know, like what the fuck, right?
Nerd.
The nerd.
The big
right?
nerd.
Right. But I think that's the imposter syndrome speaking. Yeah. I think I've come to realize I am good. I'm pretty good at a lot of things. I've been very good at finding my focus, and that's been good. But it is still humbling, and I think I hope it's always going to be that way, right? I hope it's always going to be that way, that whenever like you talk to someone and say, hey, you've seen on LinkedIn, you're doing great, supporting you. I hope it's always going to be like, thanks. Like
you're not going to get canceled anytime soon.
I hope not. Like that. Let's talk about that for a second. Like the part about like when people get canceled because they do fucked up shit. I don't know about you, but I have like when we were picking these role models we're going to mention later, I was thinking about some of the names and I was like desperately looking, have they fucked up? Because like
They said
I feel like
something
these days
terrible.
you can't say anyone
Yeah.
like, and they're always like, yeah, but he did this one thing or she did this one thing. I was like, yeah, that's right, but it's still kind of cool, right?
Yeah, it's a thin line.
Yeah.
It's a thin line. That's how I feel about Lizzo. I love Lizzo's music, but I get shit from people who are like, "No, she's been canceled."
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Like it's a great example. My wife has a T-shirt with Lizzo, and
Did she not wear it anymore?
Yeah, she does, but there was a period where she was like, "Should I wear this?"
Yeah,
Like,
it's okay. Yeah,
yeah. So and this is the kind of stuff, right? Like, I used to like Elon a lot. Then he bought Twitter and fucked up everything. Like, I don't know. Like, do I still like him? I think he's still cool, but a little bit weird.
a little bit weird. I think for me, when I first spoke at Inbound, that was the first time I realized, holy shit, I have something to say that people want to hear.
Yes.
Because I think, and that's part of the imposter syndrome is like, I think for both of us, because we're good at marketing, it seems second nature. Like a lot of what we do just is kind of common sense. So for us, it's not like we've invented something. It's not like we've come up with this new concept. We are literally applying common sense to something that comes naturally to us.
Yeah.
And maybe the same way someone who's really good at the piano, who can hear something and recreate it, does it because it comes easy to them, which I could never do.
No, exactly.
But I remember being at Inbound when I got asked to speak at Inbound, and it was sold out, and there was a waiting list, and I was like, "Holy shit!
Yeah.
This like people want to hear what I have to say." Me, this ex-intern from a company no one's heard of in a city that no one can find on a map. Is here in Boston presenting in front of huge people. And then from there, it kind of snowballed where people were inviting me to go to Stockholm, to go to Oslo, to go to London, to present to them and their company. And then I was asked to publish my, and it just kind of snowballed to the point where you just kind of do it. It's not, and I never stopped and thought, I'm a role model.
No.
It was just, it kept happening. And then I started getting recognized where people, I was at a party at Founder's House and someone grabbed me, they go, "Are you Jen Montague? Huge fan." I have no idea who they are. To this day, I have no idea who they are. Then they walked off, and it was like, I was 6 beers in, so I was like, cool, thanks, bye. So there's certain things like that happen. And I think when I've won this award, that I've admired the women who've won this award. I've been in the crowd for 3 years watching other people win this award, and now it's my turn. And you go, like, what do I do with this? Like, do I have a platform? And if I do, am I using it? Am I doing the right thing? And if people are looking at me.
Exactly. It's actually a good question. You have a platform? Are we doing the right things with our platform?
Yeah.
I think that's actually a great question. Because like both you and I, if we like our combined forces. Like I looked at the other day, I reached more than 1 million people in 2023. More than 1 million people saw my post. Of course, some of them might have been repeats, but technically, more than 1 million people saw my post in 2023.
Yeah.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
That's so I could have cured poverty or I don't know something. I could have done
With
something
marketing.
else. Instead, I'm like trying to force feed people some shit they probably don't want, right?
But I think that's the imposter syndrome. You wouldn't have 1 million if you weren't saying something that people like wanted to hear.
Exactly.
But for every person who likes you, there's someone out there who fucking hates you.
Yeah.
That
That part of
that person
I think
doesn't have
that's
to talk about.
but in order to grow, like I think like I stopped caring.
Yeah.
I think there was a point in time where I fucking stopped caring. It
Yeah.
was actually around high school, I think. I had when I was in public school, like there was some bullying. Like I wasn't the main victim. I was always been pretty sturdy, but I was bullied a bit. But in high school, I remember I thought it was a clean slate.
Yeah.
Fresh start. So here I went in it like positive vibes. I just want to have a good time. Yes, there were still bullies and it wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
But point being is that's when I realized I don't want to care anymore.
Yeah.
Like don't get me wrong, I still care, but I try not to.
Yeah.
I really make an effort of like saying, fuck it.
I think for me, it took me a lot longer. Like I was bullied relentlessly because I was a tomboy as well, and being a tomboy and I had a bowl cut. That never helps either.
That definitely
A tomboy with a bowl cut. But I was really good at sports, and that wasn't cool for girls, in the kind of early 90s when I was in school. And then all of a sudden I hit high school, and it was cool.
Yeah.
And I'm homecoming queen, and I'm cool, and I'm in the paper, and then it became cool. But I always was that nerd who was beaten up and bullied for so long that I was never the mean jock. I wasn't like an American high school movie because I kind of worked through the ranks of being the bully that I didn't like other people being bullied. Excuse me. And I think one of the things I do now is like when I put a post out on LinkedIn, when I first started getting very active on LinkedIn, I was terrified to put my opinion out there. Because what if someone tears me apart? And I remember and we've talked about this when I did the gated or ungated debate.
Yeah.
And I shared results of an A/B test that we did, that we did here, and we saw a huge increase in conversions because of gated content, which was at the time the demand gen bros
got a lot of shit for that one.
I got a ton of shit for that, and I had to turn off comments because people were, "You're an idiot. You didn't graduate grade school." Like it was. And all
bad?
I did, it was really bad. It was and offensive and like misogynistic, dumb bitch and stuff like that. Like it was really vitriol because I said we did a test, same exact time, same budget, same audience. We did an A/B test, and here's the results.
Yeah.
And I remember like, even now I get like really nervous. I can feel butterflies in my stomach, but it's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I have data. I didn't come out here and say, this ethnicity is stupid. I didn't do that shit. I did, here's a test, here's the results, make of it what you will.
Yeah.
And I think as long as I'm basing it in data, as long as I'm being fair, as long as I'm being transparent and not, as long as I can go to bed at night knowing what I'm saying is what I believe and it's not hurting anyone, then I don't give a shit,
I want to I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
And then before I ask it, so let me just ask the question and then I'll tell my story that goes with it. So does the fact that now that you are a role model to some people, we don't know how many, but some people look at you.
There's got to be someone, one or two.
There's got to be one or two. No, but there's definitely people who look to you and say like, you are fucking awesome. Like they look to you as a role model. Does that change your behavior? Does it change your perception of yourself as well? And I'll tell my story.
Yeah.
Because then you can answer.
Okay.
Because my story, so one thing is being a role model, but after I became a CEO, so I'm technically a CEO.
Yeah, you are.
A founder, CEO. And I have, as of today, I have 13 employees. Technically, I have 13 employees. And one thing I talk with my wife about is the fact that when I talk with them, they laugh at all my jokes. And
you suddenly became real funny when you started signing the checks.
I'm not fucking that funny. I'm not that funny. Like I'm not that funny. Like, I make dad jokes. I'm not that funny. So and I'm
can confirm
that confirmed. But I'm not that funny. And so they laugh at all my jokes, and I think it's adorable. But at the same time, like they always think they tell me when my ideas are bad, but most of the time they like my ideas, right? And I know my idea is not always that good. So it's like what I'm trying to say, I know I get special treatment. Like I get special treatment.
People change their behavior around you.
Around me because of who I am.
Yes.
Because I'm their boss. And I'm not just the boss, I'm the boss. Like I have all the power or like right? And I don't know what to do about that. Other than be aware of it. I talk to my wife like I'm fully aware that one day I'm not gonna be the CEO of something. And then people are not going to laugh at my jokes all the time.
Be like a peasant, like everyone else.
So the only thing I try to be very aware, like self-aware of it, but I don't know what to do otherwise. And that's kind of like that brought me to my question. Like, so do you change your behavior because of what you know of you being a role model?
I would say there's two different things. So yes, I changed my behavior because of being a role model because I know for two reasons. One, I know people are watching me, but on the other side, I know. And I'm not trying to make this about gender, but I know that I am a rare executive woman in tech.
That is a thing. Let's be real.
10% of the
there's not that many
people
of you
like me.
Yep.
So not only am I a role model for certain people, but I am representing women in leadership in tech.
And there's more pressure. Let's just be real. Yeah.
Because if I fuck up, and this is my perception is. That is a representative of why women can't be leaders in tech. If I
it's funny, like when you say it, I've never thought about that.
I'm sure you haven't, because you're a nice guy.
Thanks. But I've never thought about it. But I understand where it's coming from.
Yeah,
I hear you. I can see why you think like that. I just want to point out, I've never thought about that.
No, I'm sure.
Like I would never, if you failed, I would never be like, oh, but that's like I knew that. That's why Jen can't be a leader.
That's why women can't be in charge.
I would never.
That. And I think it's. There's two, like it's great to be a woman in tech and leadership because there are so few of you, which makes you stand out more in a good way, but it also means that you can fall much easier.
Yes.
If you fuck something up, if I do something that people don't agree with, it could reflect badly on women in tech.
Yes.
Not just me being an asshole, and I don't know if there are people who would say, oh, you're a woman in tech. Does anyone say you're a man in tech?
No, fuck no.
You're a person in tech.
Yeah.
You work in tech. Tech bro is a thing.
Yeah.
So I don't want this to be all about gender, but I feel that extra pressure as a very rare specimen being a woman in leadership in a tech, especially IoT. So I do feel that, but at the same time, it's a wonderful opportunity to go, come on, ladies, you know, let's go. We can do this too. Yeah. So that's a really cool thing to do. And winning the Digital Leader of the Year for tech is a way of saying, I'm doing something right. And I think that leads me to my second part of like, I feel I need to be braver than I kind of want to be.
I think that's good though.
You know, and it is. It pushes you out of your comfort zone because I feel I have a platform. I can try new things. And I can come on this podcast and say, we tried this new thing and here's how it worked or here's how it didn't work. And I don't have to I don't have to be safe.
Yeah.
I don't have to tick my boxes and hit my targets because if I don't, I'm going to get fired. I know I'm not going to get fired unless I do something really fucking awful.
Yeah.
I hope, Anamundo, please. But, you know, I have this.
See you next time.
I've gotten update on the next episode.
Yeah, it's just like a 30-second snippet. Since last episode.
Things have changed drastically. Yeah. I started to GoFundMe to pay my rent. No, but I feel like I have a voice and I have people who listen to me. I also have people who think I'm full of shit. That's fine. But I have a voice and people listen to me and I have this kind of security net where I can try new things and I can come here and go, we tried this and it worked or it didn't. Yeah. And that's cool because that keeps pushing things forward. And so I think, so that's to answer that question. But when it comes to as a boss, I don't necessarily think a boss is a role model, but I definitely know that people don't tell me
everything
no. the way they would talk about me at the bar.
Exactly.
And that was a real wake-up call because I'm like, I'm a cool boss. I listen. And then, you know, I had a few drinks with some people and they said, no, like, we also have to vent about you sometimes. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
You know?
It's actually, there's like...
Of course they do. They have to.
Speaking of role models, I have this guy, Martin Thorborg, who I look up to him, and he's a Danish guy. And he had one of his teachings that I really took to heart, was that he said, whenever there's like a Christmas party, as the leader, be the first one to leave.
Yes, that is a good tip.
I remember the first time I was like, what? Because people need a good free space to talk shit about you. Yeah. so I was like, that's brilliant. Yeah. And then we actually, I didn't do it at the last Christmas party, but now I'm thinking like next time we have a party, I'm leaving first.
Yeah. I've started doing that too because you just get a bit, I don't know, too friendly.
Yeah.
I think.
But I think like between the recording here, Jen and I were talking, and we're not going to mention this person, but we're talking about a famous person in the marketing space that we have heard from sources, reputable sources, is a bit of a dick. Yeah. Let's be real. A very cool person in general, knows that person's shit, but a dick. Yeah. And I was actually, before I knew this, I didn't know that person was a dick. I had a feeling, but wasn't sure. Yeah. So I was like,
and I can't confirm. I just, from sources who I trust, have confirmed that.
And I think that's just like that changes the dynamic, right? Because suddenly, like with the perception we view everything that person states, suddenly becomes, but you're a bit of a dick, right?
And it's an interesting one because if we talk role models, could you talked about Elon Musk, genius in many ways,
he's the richest person in the world,
flaming asshole in others,
definitely.
And so, is that a role model or is that someone who inspires your professional side, because that's the same thing I have.
And I think my conclusion with this is that I have people I look up to, but I don't have role models. So I don't have people where I'm like, I want to be exactly like you.
Yeah.
There's no one like we can go to a list now, but I don't have any of these people where I'm like, I want to live exactly the life you had, or like I want to do exactly. There's people who are like, a larger percent of me want to be like you. Like where it's like, I would like to be 80% like you. I don't want to have these 20%. Yeah. And those are the ones on my list. Those are the people who are like, you do a lot of the right things. I think you do a lot of the right things. But there's not one person where I'm like, you're perfect in every way. But I don't think they exist. I think that's my point. So when people look up to me or like look up to you, we are not perfect either.
What?
And no, but I like, as an example, I had there was two other podcasters here in Denmark that I looked up to quite a lot. When I started out, they were doing podcasts, so a bit before us, right? I looked up to them, and then when I finally met them, so disappointed. Like it was just like they're just people. They're nice. Don't get me wrong, they're nice, but they're definitely not smarter than me. No hard feelings. Yeah. But or anything, and humble brag. But it's just like, you put people on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Like, and when you listen to this podcast and go like, oh, Casper and Jen, they know their shit. Yeah, we're good at marketing. Let's not lie. We are better than your average Joes in marketing, and we can inspire you to be better at some areas of your life. But if you look to be fit and healthy, don't fucking look at me. Like we're probably not the best ones to look at when it comes to that stuff, right? So we're not perfect in every area, but when it comes to marketing, we're probably pretty good role models.
And I think this is what we were talking about off air, but I agree with you. Like, there's not one person that I'm like, I want to be like you, but there's characteristics of people that I admire, and I wish I could. And we were talking off air, like, I wish I could have the calm stoicism of like a Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
Where no matter what happens, I'm cool, I'm calm, I take the high road. I don't.
Yeah.
That is not me. Anyone who's ever worked for me or with me or has ever dated me will know that is not me.
We've done a few projects together in the past, and
I can get
you can get a little bit stressed about deadlines. Let's put it that way.
I get stressed about deadlines because I just want everything to be perfect, and that's a flaw that I have, and that's why I look at, where are things that I could be better?
Yeah.
And I think it's okay not to have one person you put on a pedestal, but like a little smorgasbord of a buffet. Take a little bit of this, because I know there's things I'm really good at. I think I'm very good at speaking my mind.
Yeah.
I think I'm very good at being that voice in the room that maybe says the things that people want said, but they're too scared to say.
Yeah.
But I show my stress real quickly, so there's things I need to work on. And I think, so I think as long as we acknowledge that in ourselves, and we can acknowledge that in other people, and not think that we're on anyone's pedestal except for our partners, of
exactly.
course.
But it's like so one of the people I look up to, and here again, I'm not aiming for their life, but I look up to Richard Branson. And I don't know all the stories. Maybe there's something out there about Richard Branson who's done some shit. He probably has. Nobody has.
Is he on the Epstein?
No, I don't think he's on the Epstein list. But I don't know. And if he is, then I'm sorry. Then
shit, we should have checked before we recorded.
Anyways, I've always I always found him to be like two characteristics. He's always optimistic.
Yeah.
I love.
And he's always up for trying something
who
new.
are optimistic. Yeah. Optimism rules the world in my book. Yeah. Like, when you look at a problem and go like, I don't know how to fix this, but I'm sure we can do it. That's just so much better than, I don't know how to fix it, so let's see what happens. Yeah. Right? Then, like, no, I don't know how to fix it, but I'm sure we can figure it out. Like, his optimism is just smitten. Like, it gets to me. And then, importantly for me, he's always, like, I always found him to be very insightful, but also just like brave. Like I like the word brave here, because like he's not afraid to do things, even if it makes a splash. He does. Whenever he launched things, he would jump out of jets, and he would do like jump out of like airdrop from like hotels, like all these crazy things. And he would launch like I remember he was like. He had this guy when he launched Virgin Atlantic, like I think it was Virgin Blue or some JetBlue or whatever. But anyways, the flights, they had to buy their first aircraft, right? And it's like, I don't know, a shit ton of money. Like, hey, I'm gonna sign this check for $25 million. Is that okay? Like, he was like, yes, just fucking do it, dude. And I'm like, so that inspires me. Do I want exactly the life he's lived? No, absolutely not. Drugs, rock and roll, that's not for me anymore. Like,
I wouldn't mind having my own island, though.
I wouldn't mind that.
But yeah, maybe someday.
But I think my point is just you can take away traits from cool people.
Exactly.
And the same with Elon. Like, do I want all of Elon? Absolutely not. But I think that Elon has a lot of good stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of shit. There's a lot of bad stuff. But to take away the good parts. Yeah. And I think that's how I look at role models. So I take away the things that I found good for me, like good, they're useful.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's for me. Yeah, the areas that I want to improve, that I recognize in myself I need to improve, I look at people who do it well. Yeah. And I try to aspire to how they handle themselves in that situation or whatever that is. But I think also it's important for us to know what we're good at and to be proud of it and say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to keep doing that because that's my thing.
Yes, exactly.
We each have our thing. And I think that's one of the reasons we work well on this podcast is we have our own opinions. We don't always agree. But if we stop talking about our opinions and we no longer have anything to say, then that's boring.
Yeah, and what's the worst marketing ever? The one that nobody noticed, right?
Boom,
right? So it's just like, and I think that in essence encapsulates what we're trying to do, right? Yeah. Like, we're opinionated and we have strong opinions about things, but otherwise, we're not going to get. You wouldn't listen if we didn't have opinions.
And I think we've done a lot. We fucked up a lot. We're open about how we fucked up.
Yeah.
So you don't do it.
I was tracking the other day. You remember always like when you read like job resumes or like stuff like when job applications, you would always be like, yeah, you need to have 6 years of experience in this. I'm like, I have 10 years of B2B experience now. I have 10 years. I've literally been in this. I've been doing B2B marketing for about 10 years.
Yeah, same.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm 33. like
Yeah, I'm a little older than that.
Yeah, sorry. Hashtag.
I feel personally attacked right now.
But when I get, let's say, when I'm 45, I'm gonna have more than 20 years of experience in B2B if I still do the same.
Yeah,
Insane. That's
Yeah.
actually quite a lot.
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
We know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we should we do.
We should.
Somehow.
I know.
I think when you take what you can from us and from the role models, pick your role models with caution.
Okay.
I think there's too many role models where like going around that are not just because they're controversial does not equate good in my world. And especially in social platforms, controversy breeds attention.
Yes.
And I think that's, for me, that's like, that's something I'm very aware of. Like, this just mentioned, it's not to go this route, but like Andrew Tate, right? Like, don't take any good things from Andrew Tate. There's nothing to take. Like, I'm just being real here. But he gets a lot of attention, right?
Yeah.
So if you wanted to get a lot of attention, you could do the same as him. You just say a lot of shit.
Yeah.
God would give you a lot of attention. But that's not a good role model.
No, and that's, I think the other thing just along those lines, when you look at the Gary V's and the hustle culture and stuff like that, like if you want to do that, great, but you don't have to do that.
You don't have to do
And
that.
I think a lot of the stuff you see out there is like, get up at 4 a.m., run 4 miles, have a kelp
that
milkshake,
shit.
and you make, $1 million by lunch. That could be cool, but what kind of life is that? So don't feel pressured to do something that doesn't feel right, and you can take the hustle culture, you can take an aspect of it. Okay, look, taking care of your body, that's awesome. Taking care of your mind, that's awesome.
Exactly.
But getting up at 4 a.m., less awesome.
I got up at 4:15 today.
I was up
Because
at
my
2.
daughter woke up at 4:15. So it was
Same.
absolutely not voluntary.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, I was planning, I think I'm going to do this social post. So if you see this and you listen to this episode, now you know the motivation. But I got up at 4:15 today because my daughter woke up and she's 18 months. But I just want to point out, and I live in a huge apartment. There's a lot of apartments around us. There was no lights on in any of the apartments around us. And there's like 50, 100, I don't know, something. So nobody fucking else gets up at 4.
It's all a lie.
It's all bullshit. Like the one you saw on LinkedIn, yeah, that's the one guy. He says he does it, but does he ever show you the fucking proof?
Well, it reminds me of that guy. I read this on LinkedIn. I don't know if it's true, but it's a guy who's trying to stay young, and he spends a couple $1 million a year.
Yeah.
He injects his 21-year-old son's blood into him. He only eats his food in pill form, but his body is he's in his 50s and he has the body of a 20-year-old, and it's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly.
What is that?
Fuck that shit.
And speaking of the same, I was up at 2 with my daughter, and I could not get her back to sleep, and it's just great. You know what?
Great.
And look what we're doing. We're here at 10 o'clock at night still going. So, yeah. And also part of being a role model, I think, for both of us is being good parents.
Yes.
That work-life balance, that's a hard thing to get, and I'd rather be a good parent with an okay career than a great career and a shitty parent. And so, these are the other things that we have to pick and choose.
One of the ones I had on my list, we're not going to go through the whole list. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, we're almost out of time.
Yeah, but I had Dave Gerhardt within marketing specifically, but also because he's really good at balancing work. It seems like he's good at work-life balance. I don't know if he really is, but he used to be the CMO of Drift and a cool guy who runs his own. He runs his own small shop. I think he's starting to realize he wants to have some people around him, so he's hiring people now.
Yeah,
he learned from me, I guess. But
I hear you're his inspiration.
No, but my point is he's a good inspiration. I think he does a lot of good marketing. I think he's good at marketing.
Yeah.
So
he's a storyteller.
He's a good storyteller. So when it comes to
narrator,
role models within marketing, he's one I look to quite a lot actually. So, but yeah, I don't I think let's end. We're all way over time here.
Yeah.
But
and we're tired.
Yeah, we're tired. But I think find the ones that matter to you and pick the good parts and then stitch it together yourself. I think that's my best advice. I think.
Yeah, I agree. I have nothing to add.
No. Good shit.
For once.
Go out and find your role models.
Find your role model.
We're here when you find us.
And one of the things to also end on is if you can't find the role model, you're the role model.
Ooh. And on that
Yes.
note, thanks for
So,
listening.
Be the best version of yourself, people.
Bye.
Good night.